Before we get into process, I actually wanted to talk about Man of Action.
Sure.
So this, I believe it or not, it's something actually I know very little about, is how that company was formed, how you met those guys. Tell me about Man of Action.
Sure. Man of Action, we started in 2000. I met Steve working on the X-Men.
Right.
So I'm in the comics for a year. They say, how'd you like to write the X-Men? So I'm like, okay, that's a pretty good promotion. I'll take it. I was on Adjectiveless X-Men, and Steve was on Uncanny. So we got to meet. We hit it off really well, liked each other. Steve already was part of a group, not a group, but the sort of community of guys in LA that included like James Robinson and Joe Casey and Duncan Rouleau and all these guys. So they all kind of knew each other, and then we all started working together. So one of my first jobs was with Duncan on a Juggernaut one-shot. I loved his art. We just became like friends through email and on the phone. And then Casey was working with James and then got to work on cable, I guess. So we were all then in the X office at the same time. Then Steve and Duncan were doing Alpha Flight. So we were all kind of constantly together. And then they used to have these big Marvel summits where we'd all go and 50 people would throw out ideas. And they still do them, but we used to go out to the mansion on Long Island to do it. But we liked working together. And then when I ended up at DC, Steve came over, Joe came over, Duncan came over. So we were doing it again. So we all liked working together and just decided, what if we make it official and just try to form a company. It's kind of as soon as we did, we got work. I mean, like Joe, Casey was approached to do a video game. He's like, I don't know how to write a video game. So all four of us attacked it. That was our first like official gig. And we also thought that if we were a company, we might be treated better than if we were individuals. Which it's a double-edged sword. I mean, when you're by yourself, you can move fast, you can control your own destiny, whatever. When you have partners, you've got to talk things out and deal with conflict and all that sort of stuff. But so far, it's worked out okay. And I mean, we've been together for so long. We knew each other for so long before we started the company. It's like working with your brothers. I mean, again, which is good and is bad, but it's over, on balance, very, very good. And the guys are great. And then we got, Ben 10. I mean, that was sort of what then kicked us into the next level.
Did you pitch that, or was it given to you to develop?
No, we pitched it. What happened was Matt Senreich was working at Wizard. He was dealing with some people at Warner Brothers, and he had met this executive, Sam Register. And again, this is the opportunity, being prepared thing. Sam was looking for new people to pitch because he felt like he'd seen a lot of the same pitches before and was talking to the same people. So Matt, being cool, said, well, go meet these guys. And we had a booth at San Diego mainly, so we had a place to sit. And they came over, and we decided to go for it. And we said, all right, well, Hollywood guy, we'll pitch you 20 ideas in 20 minutes. How does that sound? And they said that sounded great. And so I was literally on the phone. Of course, then we had to make up 20 ideas. But that's what we did. And I was on the phone here, and they were all in a meeting, and we rapid fire. And Sam is real good about knowing what he likes and what he doesn't like. And yes, no, 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 no. And then Ben came, and he was like, I like that idea. And that was it. And so what started as a power that we ended up not doing in X-Men.
Oh, that's funny.
And then became, it was originally called Force 10, and then it became, went through development, became Ben 10, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, that was how we sold Ben. And 2 years of development and et cetera later, then it finally came on the air.
Wow.
So, and now is a $3 billion industry and on in 178 countries. And
is that true?
That's what they just said. that Omniverse, the new iteration of Ben 10, which is coming out, it's premiering in a couple days. It'll be in the past when you guys see this. But they're trying to do like a worldwide launch. Like it's sort of simultaneously, I don't think it's simultaneously coming on in every territory, but it's launching in a lot of places at once. So 28 languages.
Oh my God.
It's pretty, that is insane. Like that, I mean, it's fun to talk about it, and I apologize for the humble brag, but it's like, it is mind-blowing to me that this thing that we cooked up and sat around and just, oh, this would be fun, and let's do this. And and then kids are running around playing with Omnitrixes and in countries where I don't even know what language they speak. I mean,
that's amazing.
It's pretty great.
That's actually really amazing. One of the questions I wanted to ask you about process, and we can get to it later, but I'm always fascinated by what translates across culturally and what doesn't in terms of storytelling, character, and the idea that you created this brand that can be translated in 28 languages and kids all over the world are into it. It's pretty fantastic.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
No, it's totally
great.
Cool. I'm very proud of it. All the guys are really proud of it, and it's like I said, it's just mind blowing. Really,
right.
I mean, you don't sit down to do it that way. When you do, it never works. For me, at least, my experience of sitting down and going, okay, how do we make that formula work? It doesn't happen.
It never works. Yeah. And if it does, God bless the person.
Right. Yeah.
Wanted to ask you a couple of things. Sort of as I mentioned earlier, I'm really interested in story and storytelling. One of the things I realize, maybe late in the game, is that that's what I do for a living. I tell stories. Right. And when I realized that, I realized what a gift that was. I've often said that there are 7 billion people on the planet. Every one of them has a story or any number of stories that are far more interesting than mine. I just have the luxury of telling them and a skill set, and I live in a place, and I had the opportunities to tell stories and have people pay me for them, which I think is really an extraordinary gift. Yeah. But I was curious if you think of yourself as a storyteller. Like when you describe yourself, like, hi, this is what I do for a living, I guess. How do you describe yourself?
Like most self-loathing writers, I say I'm a writer. You know what? I used to say I write comic books, and sort of apologetically almost, and then people would always be sort of confused. They didn't even know people wrote them, or they'd be like, "Oh, that's very cool," and then I get to sit up straight. Then I finally said I am a writer, and then people would go, "Oh, is it anything that I know?"
Right.
That would always be the next thing. And now I find I just say, I'm a writer, and immediately followed, they always ask, so I said, well, I do comics and cartoons and a little bit of film, and I'm very lucky to do it. Because what you just said is exactly right. I mean, I think it's we've talked about this just, offline many times, that to get to do this and to have this job, like we can have our crummy days and we can complain, and there's all sorts of, like any job, there are parts of it that are a pain in the ass, but at the end of the day, we're getting paid to do this thing that we love and that we wanted to do since we were kids and that we are uniquely suited to do. Because there was a time where I was a little worried that I was not going to have a job, and I was like, I have no other skills. I have no marketable skills whatsoever.